This is my WWE Hell in a Cell 2009 pay-per-view predictions, and the pay-per-view is going to be live exclusively tomorrow night on pay-per-view. And I gotta say, for this card, for this pay-per-view, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. Really, the only thing on this pay-per-view that looks bad at all, or looks like it's going to be terrible, is the women's match, and that's really going to be very short, so that really doesn't count. Now, the one thing that some people have stated, and I kind of agree with, that the one thing that might hurt the quality of this pay-per-view is, okay, you got 7 matches on this pay-per-view. It's a 7-card pay-per-view. And I think, something like a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, this might have worked better if there was a 5-match card instead of a 7-match card. Then you won't have to worry about, rushing any of the matches, giving some of the matches not enough time. And that's going to be the one thing that's going to be interesting with this pay-per-view is, just as long as all 3 Hell in a Cell matches get enough time and 1 or 2 other matches, get the appropriate time as well, this could be a very good pay-per-view from WWE. It could be a very good pay-per-view outing. Now, the one thing I know some people are probably going to be, complaining about already, or even, after the pay-per-view, is the fact that on this pay-per-view, you're most likely not going to be seeing any blood on this pay-per-view. And, I know a lot of people, gripe about, the whole PG era in WWE, or say the reason why WWE is bad is because of the whole PG era. That isn't the reason why WWE is bad. WWE will be giving you the same exact product, whether they were TV-14 or TV-PG. Sure, with TV-14, you could do a little more over-the-top stuff, maybe a couple more, a little, more risque elements within WWE. But other than that, you really wouldn't see too much of a difference with the product of WWE if it was TV-14 or if it was TV-PG. And, okay, most likely you're not going to be seeing any blood on this pay-per-view, but even though, the wrestlers aren't going to be, doing a blade job or bleeding, you always got to think, there's probably, going to be maybe 1 or 2 wrestlers, they might get busted open the hard way, and there's always ways that, that might happen on this pay-per-view. And I got to say, other than the John Cena and Randy Orton match, I got to say the other 2 matches, the other 2 Hell in a Cells, are fine without blood. And even John Cena and Randy Orton, if they do enough brawling, that match will be okay without blood. And maybe if they get outside the cage, do a couple of spots out there, then that could, help out the fact that, in the aspect that you're most likely not going to be using any blood. And I think that's the one thing some people are probably going to complain about this pay-per-view, is there is going to be no blood on this pay-per-view most likely, which I don't think is going to be really a bad thing at all. I mean, like I said, only one of these matches really need it, and you can do other things that could, take away, the thing that you don't got any blood, more brawling, and maybe a couple spots outside the cage with Orton and Cena. Now, they might start this pay-per-view off with the Hell in a Cell match, but I'm just reading this the way I got written down. And first match is that I got written down is Kofi Kingston versus The Miz versus Jack Swagger for the United States Heavyweight title in a triple threat match. And this match should be pretty good. I'm expecting a few good things out of this match. And I see Kofi Kingston losing the United States Heavyweight title just because he really has done all he could with it. And really, his reign as United States Heavyweight Champion has been very lackluster and very boring. So I think they're going to give it to someone else. And I would say I would like Jack Swagger to walk out as the United States Heavyweight Champion, but I see The Miz winning this just because The Miz desperately needs a win on pay-per-view, and he desperately needs some type of title like the United States Heavyweight title. And something like the United States Heavyweight title, that title will really help him out and will gain him some credibility. So I think that's the best route WWE could go, and I do see them having The Miz win the United States Heavyweight title. Then the next matchup will be the first of the Hell in a Cell matches, DX versus Legacy. And this has been a very good feud, and I gotta say, out of the 3 Hell in a Cell matches, this is the one Hell in a Cell match that makes sense of having the aspect of, in the gimmick of this being a Hell in a Cell match. It actually makes sense that these 2 teams are going in and taking on each other in a Hell in a Cell match. And I think this would be very good. And the one thing that really makes this feud as good, or even good at all, is that surprisingly DX hasn't been completely squashed in Legacy, and Legacy actually has been looking incredible, which is really shocking. I'm sure DX won at SummerSlam, Legacy won last month, and then obviously DX going into this match, I think everyone knows DX will pick up the victory in this match, but they have been making Legacy look very credible as a tag team. And before this feud with DX, I would say Legacy needed to desperately break up. Now it's like maybe they could drag it out for a couple more months, but obviously at some point by the end of the year, maybe even sooner than the end of the year, having Ted DiBiase, either turn, or Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton turning on him, since they do got the Marine 2 coming out on DVD at the end of December, so obviously they're probably going to have to turn him face at some point down the line. They've teased it so many times, but they kind of went off with it and stopped doing it. But this should be a good match. DX and Legacy, I'm kind of looking forward to this Hell in a Cell match. Like I said, it's the one Hell in a Cell match that actually makes sense to them going in the route of having a Hell in a Cell. Now, the next match is for the IC Championship, and this is John Morrison versus Dolph Ziggler. This match might be pretty good. Obviously, a lot of you already know my feelings on Dolph Ziggler. I just do not, buy him as a credible wrestler or, credible contender for the IC Championship. But I did feel the same way about Jack Swagger maybe at one point, so maybe Dolph Ziggler can grow on me, but haven't seen anything that, spells out that, he's, going to be a great wrestler or anything at all. I can't buy him as a wrestler or anything at all. But John Morrison, I do like a whole lot. John Morrison, I think, will win this match. I think they're going to drag out this John Morrison versus Dolph Ziggler feud, and maybe at the next pay-per-view or Survivor Series, maybe that will be the pay-per-view. Dolph Ziggler will win the IC Championship, because obviously it's going to come at some point, but I don't see it happening on this pay-per-view, just due to the fact, mainly because what happened on last night's Friday Night SmackDown, which they did a tag team match, and Dolph Ziggler pinned John Morrison in that match. So right there you got Dolph Ziggler having a little credibility going into this match, defeating the reigning IC champion. And if John Morrison loses, tomorrow night, they'll be pretty much burying him. So Dolph Ziggler will lose this match, but it might be a good match. John Morrison is a very good in-ring performer, so hopefully with that, maybe you'll see a good match here. And like I said, I see John Morrison retain the IC Championship. Then the next matchup will be the match I think no one cares about, and the one match that really shouldn't even be on this pay-per-view, and that's the Divas Championship match with Mickie James versus Alicia Fox. And I'm not expecting anything from this match. This match is probably going to be god-awful. Mickie James will retain the Divas Championship, but this is not going to be anything that's going to be good at all. This is a match that, should just be on Monday Night Raw, not a pay-per-view. The one thing is, if you want to have, a women's match on a pay-per-view, at least make it a women's match that actually seems like it's going to be good, or seems like it's actually worthy of being on a pay-per-view. And this match just just doesn't seem credible, to be on a pay-per-view. It just doesn't seem like it should be. So Mickie James will win this match, but it will not be anything at all. And then the next match will be the second of the three Hell in a Cell matches. It will be CM Punk versus Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I feel the match that I felt we were going to get last month, and a lot of other people were expecting last month, that's the match you're probably going to see this month with CM Punk and Undertaker. I feel this is going to be the time that you're going to see a great match with these two. Does it necessarily need to be in a Hell in a Cell? That's questionable. Obviously, they don't necessarily need to be in a Hell in a Cell. This probably could work out better if it was a regular match instead of a gimmick match. That's the one thing that kind of hurts their feud, is their first two matches are gimmick matches already. I would much rather see these two just in a regular match. But in Hell in a Cell match, you probably see something very good here. Obviously, it's going to be probably one of those Hell in a Cell matches that's probably going to be, kind of maybe a lengthy Hell in a Cell match, slow and methodical, then it'll start picking up in the middle and have a very good end to this match. And I see, for some reason or another, I see CM Punk walking out as the World Heavyweight Champion still. I don't know how they'll do it, but some way or another, CM Punk will walk out as Heavyweight Champion. I don't know if they'll do another type of screw job, maybe a fast count or something like that. But hopefully, if they do something like that, it doesn't hurt the overall quality of the match if they end it that type of way. Either way it goes, if Undertaker does win the World Heavyweight Championship, I won't have no problem with. I'm just hoping this time around with CM Punk and Undertaker, we get the match that many people were expecting last month, which was an excellent match, because I know these two can put on a very good match. Now, the one thing that made their last month's pay-per-view pay-per-view match at Breaking Point so short was due to the fact Undertaker was still battling injuries and he wasn't 100%. Hopefully, he's close to 100% on this pay-per-view, and hopefully he can pull off a good match here. This should be a very good match, just as long as it's given time and Undertaker is close to 100% and he's not, completely injured during this match. That would be the one thing that might hurt this match, but I'm expecting something good out of this match, and like I said, some way or another, CM Punk will walk out as the World Heavyweight Champion. Still, the next matchup will be the Unified Tag Team Championship match with Chris Jericho and Big Show, Jericho versus Rey Mysterio and Batista. This is Rey Mysterio's return after his 30-day suspension, and it really doesn't even feel like Rey Mysterio has even been gone from TV at all. If he was gone for 60 days, that would have hurt him, but 30 days really didn't even feel like he was really gone at all. And since they've already had a match, a week before the pay-per-view, kind of already booked with Rey Mysterio, people already remember him, and Rey Mysterio is not going to be forgotten. I mean, he's one of those stars. Even if he's injured and gone for a year, fans will remember who he is. And most wrestlers are like that. Just obviously a lot of wrestlers are always worried when they're not on TV for a little bit that when they return, fans will either forget them or not remember them or something like that. Obviously, 30 days is nothing at all. It doesn't even feel like he's gone. And obviously with this match, Chris Jericho, and Big Show will retain the unified tag team championships. This should be actually a pretty good tag team match. You got Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho, and we obviously seen how many great matches they've had this year in WWE. So with that should be pretty good. And Batista and Jericho, they work decent with each other. And Big Show and Rey Mysterio, you can do the whole David versus Goliath thing. I mean, it's obviously one of those cliche things and things that's been done so many times, but it does work most of the time. And actually, them two kind of have a good chemistry with each other in the ring. Really, the only thing that's going to hurt the quality of this match is when Big Show and Batista are in the ring against each other. Obviously, you're going to see that, but hopefully, it's not too long. Make this match most of the time have Jericho and Rey Mysterio in the match. It should be a very good tag team match, and obviously Jericho and Big Show will retain the unified tag team championships. Then the main event will be for the WWE Championship in the third and final Hell in a Cell match of the night, and that's Randy Orton versus John Cena. I'm expecting a lot from this match. I know the last two matches these two have had has been very disappointing, but hopefully with the Hell in a Cell, I get the match between these two that I'm expecting them to do. I mean, they had a very great match at SummerSlam 2007, good match at No Way Out 2008, but their recent matches between each other has been very disappointing. Hopefully this time around it will be a little better than the other two matches. They weren't terrible matches, but they weren't as good as what I think a lot of people were expecting. Hopefully with Hell in a Cell they can do something good here. I definitely, the thing they did on Monday Night Raw when they did the lowering of the Hell in a Cell and they're climbing up to the top, that was pretty good build up for it. And it has been decent build up for this, but I think the one thing that's kind of hurt it is they really haven't talked too much about their past feuds between each other. If they would have talked about that, or maybe tomorrow night on the pay-per-view, maybe they'll have John Cena's dad in attendance, and they'll talk about when Randy Orton kicked John Cena's dad in the head, and incorporate that type of stuff. That's the one thing that does kind of hurt. They haven't really talked about their past feuds. Other than that, I think these two should have a good match, and this is the one match that if they do go out of the cage, this is the one match I do feel that they probably will go out the cage, brawl outside the cage. I don't necessarily know if they'll do something on top of the cage. I think they might have just did that thing on Monday Night Raw to maybe tease it and kind of hype the pay-per-view up and kind of, tease that they might do something like that. Maybe they will. If they do, obviously this match will be the one that they will do something like that in. And just as long as they do enough brawling, like I said, even if none of the matches have any blood, and this is the only match that really needs it at all, and just as long as they do enough brawl and maybe they do some stuff outside the cage, that will help it. And I see John Cena retain the WWE Championship. So overall, this pay-per-view, hopefully we'll get a good pay-per-view from WWE. And just the one thing that's going to, hopefully they don't do is hopefully all three of the Hell in a Cell matches get appropriate time. And some of the other matches aren't completely rushed. That's the one thing that maybe they should have thought about, doing a 5-match pay-per-view instead of a 7-match pay-per-view, like I said earlier. So, yeah, I'll give my thoughts on this pay-per-view tomorrow night after the pay-per-view. And, yeah, that's it for my WWE Hell in a Cell 2009 pay-per-view predictions. Peace.